I'm Milla and welcome to the Milla's Game Room video. This one is going to be about Tears of the Kingdom, that new Zelda game, and I played about almost 40 hours now, so I'm just going to go straight into what I thought of the game, because I have a lot of thoughts, and if you've just not seen the headline, it's basically, for this video, I didn't actually like this game at first, so keep watching and you'll find out why. So first off, I'm going to start, if you're watching this, I'm going to assume you've already got some understanding about the game. Everyone knows, you've probably even played it. 10 million copies in 3 days, which is ridiculous for, any video game, let alone one as big as Zelda. Best-selling Zelda game, easily, especially once it's all done, the end of the life cycle, it'll easily be the best-selling one. One other thing before I go into it too much is that I didn't play Breath of the Wild, so if you're going to be watching this video expecting comparisons to Breath of the Wild and what this sequel added, you're not going to get that here because I've not played it, so I literally cannot tell you. But one thing I will say is, the reason I didn't play Breath of the Wild was because I didn't think I'd like it. And at the time it was I'm not sure I'm into open world games, and then I just didn't pick it up, didn't play it. And then, of course, over time, I began to play more of the Xenoblade games and became a huge fan of Monolith Soft, who helped co-develop both this game and Breath of the Wild. So with that in mind, it's maybe I will give this game a try after all. And here I am, giving this game a try after all. And with that said, I noticed straight away about the influences Monolith Soft had on the design. Monolith Soft mainly worked on the map and the graphics, and you can see that quite clearly. If you're on the Sky Islands, you can just see this vast, sprawling land below. It's beautiful. The Sky Islands as well, they remind me of the Titans from Xenoblade 2 so much. And just overall, just amazing to look at. And it really helped a lot with the immersion. And the map below at this bottom level, you start in the clouds, you then descend into Hyrule, often by diving off the rock formations in the sky. And it is really cool, and it really adds a sense of depth to this world. So it's not just Hyrule at the bottom, it's Sky Islands above, and it just adds this really deep layer to this world. And then you got to consider the underground, which is the whole underground cave portion where some dungeons and some extra stuff are. So yeah, there's a lot to get into, and I cannot talk about everything here because there's just so much to talk about. I think as well that the shrines as well became a highlight for me, because the shrines, they are scattered everywhere. They give you an incentive to really explore the map from top to bottom, literally, and find these little mini dungeons basically, and I thought they were really cool. I actually prefer this to the Zelda dungeon designs I've played in previous games, like Ocarina of Time for example. There were no dungeons outside of the actual dungeons, and the dungeons themselves were longer, and it led to things like the Water Temple, which I'm sure there are many fans watching this that love the Water Temple. So, well, fans watching this, fans of the Water Temple, I mean, you could have a water table if you want. Yeah, you can make anything in this game, which, for better and for worse, because with Nintendo, one of the flaws of Breath of the Wild that I did know about was the weapon durability, and Nintendo yeah, let's not remove that, let's keep it and expand on it and make the fuse power, which, yeah, fuse power is really cool. It makes up for not removing durability, because you can basically make anything of it. You can get your weapon, use fuse on it, and make a sword with a control stick that you use for other things, and if you fuse that control stick on other things, you can turn it into a car, which is pretty cool. But if you attach it to your sword, you can hit people with it like a bat, which to be fair is pretty cool and is pretty creative. Like the shrines and the dungeons, there are multiple solutions to the same problem, which I think is really cool, but it does mean that you can, break the game sometimes by not doing solutions the way you're supposed to, which I think is really good if you can't, do the game solution the way the game tells you to, which, yeah, there's a lot there with solutions and temples. In terms of how much progress I've made, you get the game, you do the intro chapter, and then you have the Hyrule, where you have 4 separate missions. You've got to go around Hyrule to 4 different areas and go, say, what's going on? Let's go fix it like an RPG superhero. And I'm currently done 2 of them. I've started going around the map clockwise, so started in the snow area, moved to the Death Mountain, and now I'm at Zora's Domain, so that's where a lot of my experience is, and apparently that's the only way the game kind of encourages you to go anyway, from what I can vaguely tell, but, I'm just doing it in an order that works for me, and I'm still on Zora's Domain. and it's really interesting to see these depictions of like the Gorons and Domain and then other people, and just it is really cool to see this. Like the last Zelda game I played that I finished and completed, that I remember, I think there's only 2, and they're up here. So Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is basically the all-time classic best game ever, and Skyward Sword, which is the not all-time classic worst Zelda game ever. Even though back in 2010 it was considered the best Zelda game ever, which, yeah, that's a Zelda cycle. And yeah, speaking of people disliking the game, I said in the description right at the start that I didn't like this game at first, and I'm going to go into that now, because when I saw the reviews, a lot of it was like, okay, everyone loves the reviews. They were like a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, people love it, it's a Zelda game. That's like saying that rain falls from the sky. Of course a Zelda game's going to rank well, unless it turns out to be like the Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival version for the Zelda series, which do not get any of these Nintendo. And, well, first reason I didn't like it was, I talk about it at first if I liked it, but I really didn't, because it overwhelmed me. To jump into this game and then have to like work out what the fuck is going on, and just you have a world like the world at nice and just kind of see what was here, just like, okay, what am I doing? I have to learn these powers, I have to learn all this stuff, and there are tutorials. Like, it's not hand-holdy in the conventional sense, but it's still kind of like, you still have tutorials, and that helped a bit, but having the world as well, which a lot to do, it was really hard to deal with, because I didn't really know what I was doing or where I was going, and especially with the Hyrule map, it's big, but it's big to the point where it often felt empty at times. Like, yeah, you've got enemy confrontations, you've got towns, it's nice, but it does kind of feel empty. And what comes to mind with this is if I'm comparing it to something like Xenoblade, you have animals and other enemies literally on the map everywhere, even if you don't fight them. And I feel like something like that could have worked here as well. Like, more birds, and there's things like that, that even if you don't kill them, but they're still there on the map and it looks more lively, and you don't really have that here. Other reason that I didn't really like it, and I think this partly ties into the marketing around the game, and I wasn't sure exactly what the direction of the game was. Like, okay, it's an open world Zelda, but what is actually going on? So there's a story at the start, there's a bit of like lore dumping, and then events happen, Ganondorf is revived, Link falls down a void and ends up in the sky in Hyrule, Zelda goes off somewhere, there's a bit of a story, it's just basically, it serves to carry the game, which it's serviceable, and the voice acting is mostly good. Like, Zelda's voice acting is great, it's British accent, so I'm kind of biased there, but some of it wasn't as good. Like the Goro that you meet with you, the Goron character, that guy, he has, let's do this, Goro, it's like, that is the most stereotypical American accent ever, and it's like, it reminds me of the kind of accents and localizations you kind of see these niche publishers like Idea Factory do, and that's not good voice acting. I imagine because I'm not American, and Americans will get upset if their precious games don't have dubs in American accents. That's probably why it's there, and yeah, didn't like that. Now, I honestly swear this video is getting so disjointed now, but I don't mind because I like doing things like this. And because I think that I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I believe this was a result of the marketing. So the marketing was basically, for those who don't know, from Nintendo until the last month before the game's release, and even days, it was basically next to non-existent. It was basically, here's our new Zelda game, we trust you to go out and explore it for yourself, we don't want anyone knowing anything till it comes out. And then that didn't work out, because leakers were actually promoting the game better than Nintendo was, with things like the art book leak. And then you've got, before the game came out, it did leak, which was expected. Nintendo should have expected this, because it is a Switch game. It's a big budget Switch game. All major Switch first party games get leaked now. They should have planned for this, and naturally it meant telling people more about the game. And so I think had Nintendo done that and actually confirmed more things before coming out, when I played the game, I think I would have been able to understand a bit more what was going on and what the sense of direction was. Because in my first 10-15 hours was basically spent working out, like learning this new style of game, which that's part of the course. Couldn't play Breath of the Wild, so that's fine. But also kind of just get a sense of direction, which just wasn't really there before. Like, it just wasn't. There was direction before. Like in playing Zelda previously, there was more rough ideas. Like you go to think of Ocarina of Time, for example. You know roughly that there's one area with a dungeon. You go there, you do the dungeon. That's it. Whereas in here it's just a bit more. It's still got the same broad structure, but it's just a lot more like, okay, you've got to go over this hill, or potentially do this side quest, or dive from the sky, and it's just a lot more complicated, and it was just made worse because I had to basically work all this out myself and not have marketing resources to refer to. Like, Nintendo only confirmed Tears of the Kingdom had dungeons 3 days before the game came out. And you got to bear in mind that because the game had been leaked for 3 weeks beforehand, leakers already confirmed the game had dungeons. So people, I can think of people that were didn't pirate the game, but still were like more hyped because they saw what these leaks had to say. And Nintendo really clamped down hard on these leaks because I think they knew that they fucked up, basically. Like, I get wanting to protect IPs, but you can't stop leaks, but you can preempt them, and telling people about what's in your game to give leakers less ammunition is something you can do. And I think that's something that they need to learn for next time. There was Inuma's gameplay demonstration as well, which had their hands, which I think this was something that I read about, but I didn't watch the footage for. And I'm glad it was there because now once you learn how to use these powers, like I mentioned at the start with the Fuse one, you really begin to understand the game better once you've begun to master these powers and how they weave together to like navigate the world, and also the dungeons. They're really cool. This is a kind of thing that should have been done a few months before, so people actually understood a bit more what it was. And yeah, that was my other main criticism of Tears of the Kingdom, and yeah, partly just what the hell's going on, but also, yeah, Nintendo really messed up the launch. And that's one reason why I didn't like it at first, so over time I've grown to like it, and I found it kind of addicting to go around and go, like, there's this world, it's really non-linear, you have to go around and collect shrines. Like, I'm in an area, like, I feel like I've got to explore the map and find all the shrines, like, and if there's a cave, oh, I'll go look for the cave. It is a huge world, and overall I kind of get that sense of compulsion. I can see why people will love it. I know some people are rapidly going, oh, it's the best Zelda game of all time, and like, first off, one, Skyward Sword says hi, Zelda Cycle, but two, in my head it's like, okay, I don't think this game is a masterpiece. Like, they're all at the 9s and 10s that litter gaming media. Like, yeah, it's not a masterpiece. I'd say, if I hate giving any kind of score to games because scores are really subjective, and the game industry in particular, a lot of the scores are skewed so that a lot of people think if a game doesn't get like a 7 or 8 out of 10, it's automatically shit, and that's not the case. Like, even with Tears of the Kingdom, there was someone else who, like, they gave a very good review of the game, and it only had like a 6 out of 10. And a lot of these criticisms were perfectly valid. That's the thing. And there was some that I was reading in that review that made me think, yeah, actually, that is a good point. And I think, like, contrary to what the most say, this game won't be very good. So I kept persisting, and then I began to really enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be a game of the year for me. It's probably not going to be. But I think if I was to score the game, it probably would be about a 6 or a 7. Like, and that's not a bad score at all. It is a good game. There's clearly been a lot of passion put into it. There's a huge sense of self-exploration. There's clearly lots of content with both the main story and the side quests. Like, there's so much here, and if you're interested at all in this kind of game, especially for Zelda, or even if you're not directly into RPGs, this game has RPG elements, but it's not a full-on RPG, so if you tend to stay away from RPGs but still like action-adventure games, I think this is a really good balance. You can get that sense of open world and really have that in this game. So overall, based on the 40 hours I've played, which is I think about half the main story, I'm not sure. A lot of my playtime was literally spent exploring the map and doing all these optional shrines. And after the first 5 to 10 hours, which was basically learning what to do in the Sky World, which the Sky Island's at the top, that's so cool. Thank you so much for watching. Have you played Tears of the Kingdom yourself? Let me know what you think, because this game is huge. It's clearly going to be a big game of the summer, and I want to get it done before the Otome stuff come out, like Jack Gian, for example. That's coming out in June, and I want to be playing that. So yeah, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, ring notification bell, leave a comment below as well. Just in general engagement boosting stuff, help the channel grow. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.